Welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. It's a Friday and of course the theme for today is on phobias, and we are learning so much as the minute goes on, as the seconds goes on as well. So we've got an opinion former on this topic where we discuss on the subject of phobias. So please say hello to Dr. Harishchandra Gambhir, who is a consultant psychiatrist of the National Institute of Mental Health. A very good morning to you, sir.
A very good morning to you, sir. Well, of course, Banu, earlier in the last segment we did have some interesting psychologists really drilling us down on what phobia is.
And we'll be continuing on the topic.
And of course, a lot of our viewers, they have the tendency of mixing psychologists with psychiatrists. Well, just to let you know, they're not the same. But right now we have Dr. Harishchandra Gambhir, who is a psychiatrist, and we are going to take his opinion on the topic. So, Doctor, will you tell us from a perspective of a psychiatrist, how would you define a phobia?
Phobia is defined as irrational fear, the fear that goes out of the proportion in particular situation, in particular places, or in front of particular objects that may be living or maybe not living, that may be animal, like that. The fear is because that we get a threat, we perceive the object or the situation threatening to us. Therefore, we get our autonomic nervous system stimulated and we produce several symptoms like dryness of mouth, palpitation, that we feel our heart is beating, we get sweating, we get tense, and we get churning feeling or butterflies in the stomach. Those are the features that we get in front of those situations, objects or animals.
This might be a common question coming to you as an expert in the field of this topic. What sort of difference that you see as a doctor between fright and a phobia?
Yeah, there is a big difference. Now, phobia is usually irrational. There is no reason that anybody should think that the particular situation or particular object or animal is threatening or going to do any harm to that specific subject. But fear, fright, or something like that is really, if there is a cobra or elephant coming, there is obviously a frightening perception that you get. But phobia is maybe to a butterfly, maybe to a small spider. There is no actual threat. It is only a perceived threat. That mainly due to psychological reason, and it is a psychological reaction that happening in the brain. In other words, that is happening in cognition.
So is this common to everyone, or does it come in genes, or how does it work out?
The exact causation of phobia is not known, but there are several theories. Genetics is one, and also psychological theories. Psychological theories is usually people accept it as, now if on one occasion, if an innocent object or innocent animal is coupled with a very fearful situation, very fearful stimuli, then that fear is generalized to that animal also. But it is nobody will be able to exactly point out which day it occurred, but usually they develop. But remember, we have to remember that the exact causation is not well understood.
I see. So basically what you were saying, Banu, the way I get it, it's the difference between rational fear and irrational fear, which actually leads to phobia. Now, Doctor, you are a consultant psychiatrist at the Institute of Mental Health, and you do get all sorts of patients which you treat. In terms of mental health and phobia, are they correlated?
Definitely. Phobia is, we can see, about 3%, approximately about 3% of the population. It's a big health problem for individual progressing, because in patients who are having phobia, especially social and agoraphobia, their life situations are restricted, limited. Sometimes they go socially backward, their progress is hampered, limited, and their education, their social activities, even their occupation is going to be affected because of that phobia.
I see. So you're actually saying sometimes if you have too much of this, it can actually drive you over the edge.
Definitely.
I see. So
Wow.
that's actually on the same topic. You did mention social anxiety, Doctor, just a little while ago,
And
I
on
believe
that note, we do have a
we do
video
have
as
a
well,
video
yeah.
on it as well. So maybe it's the right time to put that up. So let's take our doctor's take on that.
Social anxiety disorder. You will need perspective, self-acceptance, therapy, and a support group. Optional, anti-anxiety medication. Step 1. Put things in perspective. Do you really think everyone in the room is worrying about you? They're all way too busy thinking about themselves. Remember, you wouldn't worry so much what people thought of you if you knew how little they did. Step 2. Evaluate your anxious thoughts realistically. If you're uneasy talking in front of a group of people, identify the negative thought underlying your anxiety, like, everyone will think I'm stupid. Ask yourself, is this thought productive or helping me? How do I know for sure that everyone will think that? Challenge your negative thought by replacing it with something more realistic and positive. Step 3. When you feel anxious during a social interaction, redirect your focus to really pay attention to what the other person is saying instead of how anxious you feel. Step 4. Take care of yourself physically. Get enough sleep, do some exercise, and take on a practice such as yoga or meditation. Being well rested will make you less susceptible to anxiety, and exercise and meditation are both great outlets for your nerves. Step 5. Reduce your substance intake. Step 6. Consider getting counseling. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which is based on the idea that changing the way you think can change the way you feel, has been shown to be the most effective psychological intervention for social anxiety. And a medical doctor can judge whether your disorder merits anti-anxiety medication. Support groups or group therapy can help you feel less isolated by your anxiety. Step 7. Work on your social skills a little every day. Strike up a conversation with a clerk. Pay a stranger a compliment. Speak up in class or at the office. Then take on bigger challenges like...
Well, there you go. It's a little video on social anxiety. But I think what we did not touch on is what really social anxiety is, Doctor. So if you can just tell us.
Yeah, social anxiety is fear, or in other words, developing anxiety symptoms in the presence of a crowd, or in other words, social interaction in front of you, where you get all those anxiety symptoms. The main reason for that, you think that other people are scrutinizing you, or in other words, they are trying to ridicule you. They are trying to belittle you. Therefore, you feel threatened. You feel threatened, and your autonomic nervous system gets stimulated, and those symptoms that I mentioned, sweating, palpitation, muscle twitching, dryness of the mouth also develop, and when the thing is severe, you tend to run away from that situation. Or if I have to face it tomorrow, I may not go for that. I avoid the situation. Main reason is that I avoid. If I have to go for a presentation in my office, I may put leave, sick leave, that I am not able to come.
So is stage fright also a part of this? Because I think a lot of kids in our era try to do what you just said, you know, cut the classes or whatever when they need to go out and speak. Is there any correlation between those two as well?
Yes, that's something similar.
Okay.
And in terms of the video, Doctor, any agreements, disagreements with what you saw?
Ideally, the basic way of treating social phobia is the patient has to understand what is happening. In other words, pathology or the pathophysiology of the illness. He has to understand, and he has to restructure his cognition that the other people are not scrutinizing, they are not trying to ridicule you and those things. In fact, some people they know, but still they get it. Therefore, cognitive restructuring, they describe that cognitive behavior therapy. Yes, it is one of the good treatment method. The basic thing is you have to expose the patient to similar situations again and again until his cognition is correctly understand what is this phenomenon is. That is the main thing is exposure therapy.
Can phobias, doctor, can be categorized as mental diseases?
Yes, it is considered as a psychiatric disorder.
Okay.
Phobia, yeah.
I see. So there are like
It is
different.
because mainly because of its behavioral component.
Okay.
We avoid the situation and our social activities are limited, therefore it is considered
But
as
it is 100% curable.
it depends on what is the type of phobia. It is simple phobia, yes, it is 100% curable.
That's actually the next question that I was going to ask you, Doctor. You did say that there were different types of phobia,
Yeah.
and you said one of them was social anxiety.
Yes.
So if you could just touch upon the others.
Yeah, there are three main categories of phobia. One is that simple phobia. Simple phobia means you get these anxiety symptoms in front of an object or in front of situation or animal. Now it could be this arachnophobia, like phobia for spiders, cockroaches, or maybe heights, or maybe examination, things like that. That is called simple phobia. Some people are even they are fear of going out during rain and these things. That is simple. That just simple exposure is enough for the treatment. They get cured almost 100%.
I see.
The other category that we discussed, the social phobia, where it also called social anxiety disorder, where the patient get anxiety symptoms in front of other feature or in other social interactions. The other category is called agoraphobia. Agoraphobia literally means fear of marketplaces. Agora is the market in Greek language, Latin. These people are fear of going out into open places or market, or sometimes they fear going in buses where they cannot escape easily, say crowded buses, crowded trains, or a cinema. If they have to sit middle of the people where he cannot escape easily, they get all those anxiety symptoms. That is called agoraphobia. The other important issue is in such situations when the patient is having agoraphobia, it may be associated with other mental illnesses like depression. It is very common comorbid condition. Those are the three types of phobia.
I see. Also, Doctor, the other thing is if we talk about hypnotherapy,
Yeah.
Is that a good solution for curing phobia?
Hypnotherapy is not considered as a psychiatric treatment nowadays.
Okay.
It is that therapy, that phenomenon about 200 years old, and it is it has no scientific basis. It is not considered, nowhere in the world it is practiced as a scientific method. But we have to remember that various people in various places in the country, they practice it, maybe that they believe it, but
I think also at the same time, Doctor, a lot of people are not really certain about what hypnotherapy is all about.
hypnotherapy is, there was a neurologist called Mesmer in the past. He believed that just by putting his hand he believed that he has special power, could cure the patient. That is called mesmerism. Later this developed into hypnosis, where patient get into altered state of consciousness, where patient obey only to the person who give repeated suggestion. That is only a altered state of consciousness. That cannot cure illnesses. That is now not used as a scientific therapy. In the past, when there were no clear understanding about the basis or etiology of psychiatric illnesses and the therapy, they used various methods, not only hypnotherapy. They used giving patient insulin, giving centrifuging patients, and restraining patients, lot of unscientific methods at that time, when the real therapy is not available, when the scientific basis of illness was not